2010?
Counterintuitively, the 40 Days for Life campaign and filling all 968 hours was actually easier than we earlier anticipated, insofar as we had the Adoration Chapel and we had the commitment of a committee, a very good committee, into filling the overnight hours. The 40 Days campaign gathered such momentum that we were not only surprised, but inspired in a sense with the community's approach to being there for many hours at a time, and to fill the 968 hours with over 600 volunteers, none of whom were paid, was an exceptional turnout from the pro-life community in Sydney. So in a sense, at the beginning we thought it was going to be difficult to fill all 968 hours, but after 1 or 2 weeks of the campaign and the build-up of momentum and the excitement at this new brand, 40 Days for Life, coming to Sydney, we actually found the response was one of gratefulness for us putting on this 40 Days for Life campaign. The fact that Family Life International drove the campaign, people were very grateful to be given that opportunity to pray at the clinic. And in the end, I think we actually did it with some steam left in the tank. So I'm confident that in 2011, we'll easily be able to fill the 968 hours and improve on this year's effort, which was quite exceptional to begin with. The sustenance the prayers got from knowing that the Blessed Sacrament was upstairs right above the abortion clinic was invaluable. The fact that we could take our petitions to our Lord Jesus Christ in the Blessed Sacrament and go there to bring our concerns about ending abortion in Sydney. Because the Blessed Sacrament is the source and summit of the Christian and indeed Catholic life, the incorporation of the Blessed Sacrament and the Adoration Chapel in the 40 Days campaign gave us the impetus. It was the real spiritual heart of the campaign. And I think without the Blessed Sacrament, there would have been a loss of momentum and people at the end of the campaign would have really been struggling. But we were able to keep up our momentum, keep our spirits up and stay inspired, because every night we sought repose, we sought strength, we sought the sustenance from the Blessed Sacrament. And during that time of repose, we were able to reflect on what we were doing. And I think it will only be in 2 or 3 years' time that we will truly understand and truly, I guess, be grateful for the fact that our Lord Jesus Christ was right there with us on Calvary, which is what Father Marks and Monsignor Riley call the abortion clinic, a modern-day Calvary. Our Lord was there at the modern-day Calvary at the abortion clinic, and that gave us the spiritual food we needed to last the 12 or 14 hours on the street during the day. So I thought it was a vital part of the campaign, not only for me personally, but for all the people I spoke to. They agreed with me that having the Blessed Sacrament there was what gave them the strength to continue praying at this place of evil. Father Karapi has often said on EWTN that the way to close these abortion clinics is to bring goodness itself there, our Lord Jesus Christ. And during the 40 Days for Life campaign, Family Life International was able to obtain and furnish a fully operational Adoration Chapel directly above the abortion clinic. Now, when we say directly above the abortion clinic, in the very same building, 6 floors above where the abortions are taking place, we had a fully furnished chapel with an altar, and we had holy hours, holy mass, devotions, the rosary through the night said above the abortion clinic. Now, if you just think of the symbolism there is our Lord Jesus Christ in the tabernacle, and then during the night in adoration, directly above the abortion clinic. So we're putting our Lord Jesus Christ, the King of all history, the author of human life, above this chamber of death. And what we're saying is, Lord, come into this building, rejuvenate the spirits of the pro-lifers who are down on the street all day, and overcome the wickedness that takes place within this building, because we know the Blessed Sacrament is the most powerful tool we have in this fight. Jesus is the captain of the team, and you need the captain on the field to win the fight. And bringing Jesus to the abortion clinic through the Adoration Chapel, furnished by Family Life International and patronised by many priests of the Archdiocese of Sydney during the campaign, was simply the crown jewel of our campaign. The source and summit of the Christian life is the Blessed Sacrament. It was the source and summit of the 40 Days for Life campaign in Sydney. And without that chapel, and without the sustenance we got from visiting there and taking repose with our Lord through the night, I do not think we would have made it through the 968 hours. As young Catholics, I guess we balk at the title of prophet. We find it rather intimidating to even consider ourselves prophets. But when we think about the promise of our Lord that through baptism we'll be initiated as priests, prophets and kings in his eternal ministry, even as lay Catholics, then we have to at least consider the possibility that in proclaiming the pro-life message we are actually being prophets for a brighter day, a future where abortion will no longer take place. And I mean, it's quite pointless being involved in the pro-life movement if you don't believe the end result or the fruit of our toils in the Lord's vineyard will be a total triumph over the culture of death. Often Catholics are accused of presenting an entirely negative approach to human life, relations, the family. Thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. But what John Paul II and I think Benedict XVI after him have emphasised through the civilisation of love is that the Catholic Church's teachings on human relationships are a positive thing. It's a positive cultural edifice that when it is truly lived out through family life, we are building up the culture. Now we call that the civilisation of love, but what it really is in essence is Christians building a Christian society, being faithful to the laws of the gospel and the commandments, and that is what the civilisation of love is. The civilisation of love is cooperating with God's will in our own lives and in our family life, witnessing to the inestimable value of unborn human life. That's certainly part of it, but it's more than that. Being pro-life is more than just being anti-abortion. The opposition labels us as placard-waving fanatics who only care about saving a baby between the 0 and 9 months of gestation during a pregnancy. But the Catholic teaching on human relationships is more than anti-abortion. It's more than anti-euthanasia. It's more than anti-embryonic stem cell research. The civilisation of love, as its name suggests, is a positive cultural movement for fraternal relationships lived in true Christian charity. And that is the plan laid out by our Lord. And I think when John Paul II and Benedict XVI talk about the civilisation of love, they're talking about the Christian ideal, what we propose as the alternative to what we see around us, the abortion, the pornography, the divorce. There has to be a better way. And the better way is the civilisation of love. And do I consider myself a prophet of that? Well, in a small sense, I'm contributing to the pro-life movement, and we're all cogs in that wheel. And if we all faithfully live the gospel in our own lives and are humble enough to recognise our own weaknesses, but also humble enough to recognise that God has a better plan for us, then we can be prophets for the civilisation of love. We cast our nets deep this year. I mean, the fact that we decided to run a 24/7 campaign rather than what other cities have done and just try and be on the street for 12 hours a day, we were very ambitious. I'm reminded of the story about Mother Angelica launching out and beginning the 24/7 Catholic channel, which has become the Eternal Word television network. Going 24/7 and that perpetual prayer ascending to heaven through the 40 Days campaign was significant. And because we were ambitious, people responded to Family Life International's ambition for them. When we said we want 968 hours of straight prayer, we had nearly 600 people register through the website to participate in this campaign. Family Life International Australia, although a small organisation by world standards, because we are a small country, relatively speaking, has had the involvement of several hundred people at its various marches and protests over the years. The fact that this first time 40 Days campaign in Sydney was able to register 600 people to pray in their homes but also on the street, very many for the first time, was truly encouraging. Do I think we can have more people turn up next year? Undoubtedly, especially if we can replicate this year's use of the Adoration Chapel and the perpetual prayer ascending to heaven 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during Lent, I think inspires people to want to be involved. It gives them a program during Lent to really fully live that Christian journey, that anticipation of Calvary. And I fully expect that next year people will actually use 40 Days for Life to have a more fruitful Lent. Well, as Christians, we're promised in the gospel that if we faithfully follow our Lord's precepts, the world will hate us. If they call the head of the household Beelzebub, then what more will they say of you? So standing against abortion and the whole abortion industry by taking them on at their place of business where they make their profit is going to generate some heat. And all of us who've been involved in the pro-life movement for some time understand that when you put yourself out there as a pro-lifer, you do anticipate a little bit of antipathy, a little bit of aggression on behalf of the community. What I think the wonderful thing about 40 Days for Life was that it was based in a local community for an entire 6 weeks, basically, campaign, and people were able to see over time the Christian witness of the volunteers. I think it reflected very well on not only the 40 Days campaign, but the pro-life movement in general, that despite the fact that people would honk their horns and make rude gestures and aggressively verbalise the prayers, there was never any response from the prayer team during the 40 Days for Life campaign, but one of charity, peace and serenity. And that was the true witness. The fact that the police just around the corner were on call during the entire campaign but never actually had occasion to come down and sort out any trouble shows that despite the aggression that some people in the community initially showed to the presence of a pro-life campaign in their midst, we pacified that community. We pacified them through the Christian witness of peace and also through the prayer. Perpetual prayer is the most important part of the campaign because what it shows people is we're not there to confront them. We're not there to, in a sense, be judgmental as the world often accuses us of. We're there to witness to the Christian values of life, love and the gospel. And I think that the fact that the 40 Days campaign went off without a hitch, without an incident, despite the fact that an anti-abortion campaign in any suburb is a tinderbox just waiting to explode, shows that our prayer volunteers were not only disciplined, but fully entered into the devotional spirit and the peaceful spirit that is Christian witness to human life. And I was especially proud of all our volunteers who were able to respond to all the accusations by being able to give an answer to the hope that was within them. That's what St. Peter said. Be ready to give an answer to the hope that is in you, and that's what we did during the campaign. There was no hatred, no judgmentalism, just hope. The total approach with regard to the pro-life movement is completely logical for a couple of reasons. What Father Marx proposed was that the pro-life movement follow the moral teachings of the Catholic Church to its full extent. So we weren't just addressing the symptom, of which abortion, euthanasia, embryonic stem cell research, these are really essentially symptoms of the culture of death. But the root cause goes far deeper. It's alienation from the truth, alienation from the person of Jesus Christ, the secularisation of our society. And this is borne out through various programs of contraception and sex education in the schools. So what Father Marx proposed, and what Family Life International continues to preach, is the fact that you have to address the root cause of the problem. It's a holistic approach. In a sense, it's not a band-aid solution to the very obvious symptoms that beset our society, the divorce, the pornography, the social alienation, the suicide. All of these problems which we can identify as symptoms aren't the root cause. The root cause is a lack of inquiry as towards the truth, alienation from the church and her teachings, and what Father Marx proposed was the full approach to tackle the culture of death. The culture of death has a total approach. The culture of death goes into the schools, it corrupts the children. Then they get to the abortion clinic. All manner of misery is visited upon them. They have broken relationships. They go on to lead dysfunctional lives because the culture of death addresses every aspect of a person's life. Right from the kindergarten years until the grave, you're faced with the problems of sex education in the schools, abortion, pornography, divorce, and then euthanasia at the end of your life if that's not enough. So the culture of death has a total approach, and if we as pro-lifers don't confront the full frontal warfare of the culture of death with a similar total approach, then we are going to a gunfight with a slingshot, really. We need the total approach. Father Marx understood this. The Catholic Church for 2,000 years has understood this. You can't be a supermarket Catholic. You can't pick and take the teachings off the shelf that you want. You have to accept the whole edifice of the Church's teaching. Otherwise, it will quickly unravel before your eyes your defence of human life. You cannot be anti-abortion without being pro-life, pro-civilisation of love. That's why the total approach is the antidote to the modern day society's problems, because the total approach for pro-life is able to fully confront the total approach of the culture of death.